Good morning.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to Healing the Rift. I'm Adrienne.
I'm Josh.
And in just a few minutes, we're going to be going to SOTU. You just have to look us up to find out who SOTU is. Just suffice it to say, Josh channels them. Been doing that for close to 30 years. So.
Blah, 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 blah. So.
What a week. What a week.
Did we predict it?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
They did. SOTU did.
Did
Absolutely.
we predict it for the past 20 years?
Yes, we've been outlining.
Not to say that, this isn't, oh, well, I told you so and all of that stuff, but none of us realized what an incremental journey it was going to be. And, if you create your reality through your thoughts, your words, and your feelings, how so many of the things that we have talked about and those things that we have put emotion behind and those things that we have put into word have seemingly, after so many years, you look at it from my perspective, I've been doing this for about 30 years. And so in the dynamics, in the way that things have moved in that 30 years, in the things that have actually manifested, and you've got to wonder if reality does not eventually reflect what we're putting out.
Absolutely. And you can say that about yourself and your own life, because we create our reality 100%. And we're in this greater dance. So it's true of the species. It's true of a nation.
Well, if I create my reality 100% and you create your reality 100%, then that's very complicated. In other words, there's not a lot of simple answers to this, is there?
No, there's not a lot of simple answers from this part.
But there is from this part. Right. So that's a lot of what we talk about. So I'm going to bring up SOTU very shortly, because we've had a lot of questions about the dynamics that have been occurring over the week, and we are going to take calls today. But I'm not sure whether SOTU is going to come in the beginning or we're going to take calls in the beginning. I'm going to leave it up to them. Because what's going on is
huge.
So many people are being deplatformed right now. Today we're live streaming on YouTube, partly tempting fate, I think, but partly because we always have a good backup from Blog Talk Radio, and that's what we often need from these things, is a good recording, so that we can go back and actually discover what the heck they said and archive it in certain ways. So usually for us, it's most important that we get a good recording. And so many of you who have called in over the couple of years now, you're what shall we say, memorialized. So we don't use first names, last names, or anything like that. So you're fairly anonymous, but if you've called back 20 times, I would suggest that you're getting well known.
Well, there is the belief out there that
at least the 5 people that watch this consistently on a Sunday. So.
Well, you are helping people over the ages as they listen
I'm
to
helping
this.
people over the edge.
We're going over the edge all on our own.
Okay.
Here we are.
All right. So you want to play?
For those of you who might be new to us, Josh is a channel for SOTU. For Josh, it's like going to sleep. He's doing that. We play a tiny bit of music, hopefully, and the next voice you hear will be that of SOTU.
All right. You got the music right, huh?
It worked today.
All right. Good job.
Miracles and wonder.
Wasn't that a movie? Miracles and Wonder. Oh no, that was Leap of Faith. His show was called Miracles and Wonder. Right. If you want to find inspiration for things, that's a very good movie. Steve Martin, and
yes.
plays a faith healer who really witnesses a miracle. So finds out who really has faith. Praised, as you know.
Yes.
Right. So we're not going to get into that too much today, but certainly a little bit. How would you like us to start?
Well,
let's get the ugly thing out of the way first, shall we? And we don't mean
we don't.
The phone caller.
No.
Well, okay. So you're talking about what happened Wednesday, right?
Yes.
All right. There were probably 1 million people there.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 1 million people, there were maybe less than 1,000 that actually got up and got into the Capitol, and there was, in fact, a dynamic of very light security for the amount of people that were in town, and so you wonder if there is not a setup and all of that stuff, because why would you have a dynamic that is a definitive dynamic when everything else in your reality is hazy and gaslit, and you hear 2 or 3 or 5 different stories about things? So why would you have such a clear and definitive dynamic in such a way as to have one segment of your, what shall we say, is it really your population that is reacting, or is it your politicians? Who really got scared here is ultimately the question, right?
I would say the politicians got scared simply by the masses of people.
Well, and that was the third demonstration. The first one was approximately 1 million people. The second one was 100,000 or so. And this third one was probably over 1 million, although no one has estimated or guesstimated the crowd. But we did notice that people, they were counting people that died as people that had heart attacks and things like medical emergencies.
Right.
So, they were pumping up the dynamics of the statistics as much as possible. So if you look at this dynamic, do you not think it might have been an overreaction?
And kind of scripted?
Well, it's not the scripted part of it. It's the overreaction part of it. Because, in fact, if you look at the dynamic and you really do your research, you'll find out that there is a lot going on behind the scenes. We cannot say that our predictions have been correct for the last 20 years and still be in a position where we are going to tell you that the divine question that is being asked of you, that divine question of who is it that you are going to be, and that dynamic being focused around what does it mean to be an American? Are you really basing the dynamics of your rule of law upon the Constitution, the originally written Constitution, or are you dealing with a dynamic that has had so many addendums and so many pieces of garbage attached to it and we mean that pieces of garbage attached to it over the years, that it doesn't have much of a semblance of what was originally intended. From our perspective, we have to tell you that the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence should be considered divine documents, that in fact they purport and propose a level of personal responsibility that will eventually, if taken in its original form and its original meaning would take you all as a species, would take, and we do mean that as a species, because the US is a model for the rest of the world, and the rest of the world is watching you. And we wish to tell you today is the 10th of January, and it ain't even close to be over yet. All right. And as we said to you, Wednesday was going to throw your world up in the air and change everything. And that even those of you that were well versed in the dynamics of what you think is going to happen have been greatly surprised by that dynamic. The next chapter is the pushback. And that will be happening if it doesn't happen today, because we heard a rumor this morning in the ethers that Mr. Trump would be speaking this evening on some of the alternative sites that are available out there. There's also a rumor going around that they will declare an emergency and engage the emergency broadcast system. So all of the censorship and all of that is being attempted, and doesn't that just raise your hackles? Does that not just raise red flags all over the place? You know, the word is oligarchy. You know, a mixture of where business decides for you what it is that you should have, what it is you should hear, who it is you should be.
And the next thing you know, it's what you can say and what you can think. Well, what you can say
Well,
is
they're
already
working on what you can say right now. They will never be able to control what you think as long as you are aware that that's what they're trying to do. You see, when you're aware of propaganda, it doesn't become propaganda any longer. So that's one of the reasons that we are telling you all to question everything. And that includes us. Question us. We are happy for you to challenge us in any way that you wish. You know, because this is all a part of the dynamic of the divine movement that is going on. Energetically, it is very similar, very emotionally, energetically, spiritually. You are in much the same place where you were when you were deciding whether you were going to go to war in Iraq or not. You had already invaded, in other words, a dynamic of energy was already in motion, and you had already invaded Afghanistan. But the big debate was, for those of you that were alive and remember that dynamic, it was only 20 years ago. The big debate was around whether to go into Iraq or not, which built up to a whole dynamic after 9/11 of a point where there was this, where energetically, emotionally, there was this whole conflict going on between East and West, between two religions, Muslims and Christianities, and basically all the Abrahamic religions were at each other's throats in many sorts of ways, and that pressure, those irresistible force against immovable object.
Yes.
And energetically, that's what was building up for that 4 years, because the great tsunami in Thailand happened out in the middle of the Indian Ocean. All right, that place between the two different civilizations pushing against each other. And so, ironically and metaphorically, it was a very loud dynamic that was saying, hey, you keep pushing against each other in that sort of way, something's going to slip and something's going to break. And in an instant, 25 million people,
a lot,
left the planet.
A lot.
Now, from our perspective, that no one lives or dies by accident. And when humanity chooses to live in a group like that, they are saying something to you. So you had the dynamic of September 11th. This is where we got cut off yesterday when we said that. But you have the dynamic of September 11th that occurred, and there was that whole dynamic and that whole loss of life. And what were those people? All right, no one lives or dies by accident. So what were all of those people saying, trying to bring to your attention for you to solve? And of course, it was a dynamic of a growth movement, what we would call in a way an adolescent wounding that occurred at that time. And if you wish to know what an adolescent wounding is, then you better find the video that we put out that basically tells you that, because it's a 30-minute conversation. But the dynamic of the adolescent wounding occurs with everyone. And obviously the things that occur within each of you as individuals occurs also in reflection in the entire species. So as you grow in your human body, so the species grows as well. And you can find a great number of analogies, metaphors, and parallels in the dynamics of personal growth and in the dynamics of special growth as well. So the situation of reality at this point, the situation of movement right now is a very crucial one. You stand almost energetically, spiritually, emotionally in the same sort of shocky place that you did after 9/11. Now, once the original shock was gone, you have to understand that there were a great number of people that were adding their 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents, $25 to the mixture,
Right.
so that that continued the dynamic of the sustaining energy and the extended period of horror, which was utilized as a way to distract you, to keep you from realizing that they were dealing with this tragedy unlike they had ever dealt with any other tragedy like this before. So which immediately leads to the dynamic of suspicion, which immediately leads to a dynamic of none of you really knowing, except for a very few of you, and they're not telling about what happened. So if you look at the dynamic of how you felt about that, we would suggest to you that you, as as Americans, are being steered emotionally in this direction already, and which brings you back to the dynamic of, if you want to answer the question from the aspect of spirituality, from the aspect of the divine, you need to look at it emotionally. What is the similar emotional dynamic that is occurring now? What is the challenge of now as compared to the challenge of 9/11? And the challenge of 9/11 was, are you going to deal with this dynamic as adults, or are you going to continue to deal with it as adolescents? Because again, you're at a growth point, you're at a crossroads in the dynamics of growth. You can either spend the next 15 or 20 years, the next generation, in your adolescence, vying with each other, playing these games that you're playing that have no rules and have no conscience attached to them, and or you can begin to treat each other as the divine beings that you truly are. And it's not a whole dynamic of one or the other. Of course, if you're out there and you don't believe in anything, then the journey towards spirit is an incremental one. You know, you're not going to just go the whole way all at once. And we're telling you all that true spirituality, you can be as skeptical as you wish about it, because it will stand up to your questioning. If things do not stand up to your questioning, well, then you need to suspect them.
Need to question them even more.
Well, yeah, sometimes there is a diminishing return to that
Mhm.
dynamic. It's not like once the horse is dead, you don't want to keep beating him.
Right.
We know that's a terrible analogy, but we did it anyway.
You did.
All right, so let's go to Melissa, shall we?
Yes, we're going to our first caller. Good morning.
Good morning, dear one. How are you? well, we're not God, but we know Him well. Go ahead, dear. Did we lose you? Um,
We didn't quite understand.
what's going to be known, dear one?
Akon?
Yeah. Yes. 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 But that's not the only intelligence that's going to become known. There's going to be um, disclosure on a wide range. In fact, we believe that in the next year, you might be becoming acquainted with 3 to 7 new species. No, everyone. No, everyone. Yeah. Well, the significance of the dynamic, hang on a second, okay? So, the significance of the dynamic is that you are at a dynamic of a crisis point right now where you could use a lot of help. But in fact, it is counterproductive for you to have that kind of help because in fact the abilities that each of you earthly human has, needs to be nurtured and needs to be expanded upon. That dynamic will be happening more and more in a natural sort of way as so many more of you begin to awaken. But you have to also realize that it also leaves you, so many of you, in a hurt and traumatized kind of place where you are susceptible to being led by those that have, what shall we say, hidden agendas. So, even in all things, and especially when it comes to other beings, especially when it comes to non physical beings, which is why we say question everything we say as well. Is that it is a very good thing to begin to question these dynamics. Are you with us? But you're not happy with it. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Well, are you feeling fear? Good. 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 Uh, well, it's let's put it this way, okay? We'll give you because one of our favorite expressions is why would we deprive you of the adventure of discovery? Also, the dynamics of the situation that you are facing, even though you, dear one, as an individual, have decided who it is that you are going to be. In other words, you are already dedicated to that spark of spirit that exists within you. You are already seeking to develop more communication and more understanding in these realms, and therefore to have a more intimate relationship with spirit. And as so many in your world are going to begin to do more and more now, there's a big difference between spirituality, and religion. And we would tell you that your world is going more toward a dynamic of spirituality, which is going to allow you to focus upon more of your similarities rather than your differences. Oh, you are. You are. You're doing so much better. It's so much easier than it used to be. And it's okay that if you question yourself, and it's okay if you doubt yourself now and again, but you have to understand that the more that you do it, the more confident you become. Now, that's not to say that you need to ever turn your awareness of what shall we say, tendencies to step off the path now and again, as anyone would, because no one in a physical body is perfect. So you would, even you, Adrienne,
Especially.
you knew we were going to say that, didn't you? The dynamic ultimately is, look how much more confident you are now than you were just 2 months ago. Yeah. No, yes, maybe. Did we lose you? Oh, we think we lost her. Or a big what?
A big awakening?
You know why we're laughing, dear one. We don't know how many thousands of miles away you are, and sometimes the sound that comes through the headphones is not the best, but it sounded to us like you said you had a big wedgie.
Awakening.
We got it. We got it. We got it. We got it. Yeah. Well, you can simplify it. What we would do at this point, rather than making it a ritual, we would move it into a habitual dynamic. You know, the the key to it is the feeling of the emotion in that dynamic of the power of anticipation. So if you can just, you don't even have to do it with great detail. If you can just spend a minute or 2 minutes feeling that dynamic a couple of 3, 4 times a day, it becomes habitual. And it also is a great way to allow you all to feel a lot more positive in the dynamics when there is so much negativity floating around and so many people trying to pop other people's bubbles.
Mhm. Bubble bath.
We're not going there. No, we're not going there. We're not going there. So far, so good. Oh, dear one, we're going to give you the same advice that we gave you the last time. The same advice was stop being so serious. It's like again, you're beating the dead horse. Well, the horse may not be dead, but he's extremely wounded. Do you really wish to invest so much of your life in what it's going to take to help this person heal? In the dynamics of all of the other things that you wish to accomplish in your life, is this person not a major distraction? And the only reason that you are so focused in this direction is because you're still looking for that relationship. You're still looking for that romance that we think you were about 12 years old when you developed this picture of what you wanted for yourself. And this person doesn't even come close to living up to that, wouldn't you say? Come back. Come back.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. We, way different culture. Way different culture. Look. I mean, yeah, but what would you have to hold on? Stop talking. So, what would you have to do in order to fit in with that dynamic? Yeah, you'd be yourself and you'd have a conflict in no time. it's a very different from what we see. Yeah, we know, we know. It's hope. It's hope. It's hope. It's hope. Give us a moment here, okay? We're going to just see if you even know this person yet. No, we don't even think you know this person yet because things are going to, you know, we keep talking to all of you and talking to you all as if everything's going to be normal from here on out, and it's going to be anything but. So, and you're all going to meet a bunch of new people, and your possibilities are going to, and we mean all of you, your possibilities are going to expand dramatically. And so we would suggest to you that the prospects that exist in your present are going to be magnified greatly in the near future. And we mean that with all of you because each and every one of you are going to need to rely on others as much as you have been relying on yourselves. And that is the major difference in the dynamics of what are occurring at this point. Yeah, we gave you a hint. Yeah, we don't like giving you hints. You know, it's like Adrienne likes to ride her unicorn, and we have to keep telling her to get the heck off the damn unicorn. Well, we don't want to give you too many hints because we want you to be focused on those things that excite you, those things that are going to be, you know, don't focus on what you don't have, focus on what you do have. If you are lonely, then be in a dynamic where you engage others in your remote viewing and what you're doing in such a way as to create a little community or to join a group or a community that's going to allow you to hone your skills even more. And as you explore these dynamics, you will meet people who are of like mind. You're not going to try to pull somebody like you out of a corporate environment. Boy, we must have a really long delay today.
Are you there?
Well, what if you met someone who knew as much as you did, and you would be able to share knowledge so that you became, each of you became wiser and more experienced because of the experiences of the other? Why don't you just the more see the problem is that the more limitations that you put on things, the less opportunity that the universe has to give you what you're looking for. By not putting a lot of hard edges on things, by not saying, well, I want a certain measure of culture, or I want the person to look this way, or I want them to be that tall, or I want them to be this or that, or any number of things. I want them to be spiritual. You know, I want them to be able to have the consciousness that I have. And we have two words for you: good luck. Do you understand? Right. You're looking for somebody that you can live with, that you can be natural with, that you can be yourself with. That's not necessarily easy, dear one, because you're kind of an odd duck. Well, and so therefore you limit your prospects. Now you're not going to give up who you are. Well, you've worked hard enough. It's why work so hard and then give it up for some dumbass. Oh, you have permission to play all you want. You need to stop looking at every male as a prospect of the dynamics of for the rest of your life. If you just want to have some fun and you just want to have some companionship, you work on friendship first and then you go from there. But you see, it's not a dynamic of you looking; it's a dynamic of you looking and connecting, and that person is also looking and they connect. It needs to go both ways. Okay, we're gonna give you 8 more minutes, and then 7 more minutes, and then we are done. uh, you know, it might be better to teach them how to do their own bubble. well, that's why they invent hair dye. Well, that's good. That's good. That's good. If you're looking at us on YouTube right now, you're seeing two old farts. But we think they still look pretty good for 74 and 67. We think they still look pretty good. So and they got gray hair. But then they call that, what is that? Silver fox and silver foxette.
Silver fox, yeah. Vixen.
Vixen. Yeah. Yes, the real universe. Yes. Oh, no, no, we don't agree with that. He's incarnate. You just haven't met him yet. If we tell you how many years, you're just going to do everything you can to delay it. Oh, sure. You're doing exercises, are you not? Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a marked difference. You see, you need to be able to learn how to self-assess, you know. All right. So we're gonna cut you off now, dear one. All right. We do love you, you know. It's not like, well, we have other calls coming in. Well, well, um, we in fact know you all that's well, believe it or not. But some of you can be more, what shall we say, friendlier and more intimate with than others of you. All right, dear one, we love you. Thank you very much for your call. We're going to cut you off right now because that's a familiar number. We have another number coming in. All right, go ahead.
Yes, we are
Thank you,
going.
Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you.
Go
Thank you. We're going to, believe we're going to go see Nathaniel.
Morning, Nathaniel. How you doing, dear one? Oh, we're always wonderful. So you got something? You got a question for us? All right. All right. So you haven't heard, you didn't hear the beginning when we were ranting and raving about the whole dynamic of what's been going on since Wednesday and all of that. And you didn't hear the fact that we're still holding on to our old prediction that until things actually happen on the 20th, we still think that there is a big surprise in for all of you. Well, we can't really say that out loud, you know. If we hope to survive this purge that is going on in the dynamics of the censorship that is occurring right now, you know, everybody has been putting their stuff up on Rumble and Parlor and all of that stuff. And we understand that Parlor is coming down at midnight tonight because Jeffy Bezos decided that he didn't like them anymore, so he wasn't going to provide them servers because they're just such evil people. So, but yes, we would still say, from the looks of it, that starting maybe this evening, we have heard rumors that that Trump is going to make a speech, do a speech at 9 p.m. tonight. We don't know whether that's true information or not, but it's the rumor that's been flying around. And so, you know, we would suggest that if something's going to occur, it's going to occur pretty quickly. And from the way that some people are reacting right now, you know, that old woman that looks, that's really what, in her 70s, but she looks like she's in her 50s. The one that her eyebrows are now back here because she's had so many facelifts. But you would know who we're talking about. NP, you know. So, and also the dynamics of how they're freaking out in this sort of way, and the desperation that they seem to have around the dynamics of both impeachment and the 25th Amendment. It seems like a somewhat of an overreaction, just as all of the dynamic seems to be somewhat of an overreaction, because, even though there was that bullshit that happened, oh yeah, that's a spiritual term, that bullshit that happened around the Capitol, it certainly, nobody burned it down. There really wasn't any real violence. There was pushing and shoving and overreactions, but generally speaking, it's very, we can smell the fish from all the way over here. Yeah. Including Nancy's. Well, you do live in California, so you have a more intimate relationship with her than those of us here on the East Coast. Yeah. Well, they're all, that's what you're going to find out, is that a lot of the perpetrators of this stuff, they're all related. They're all related. The Pelosi's are related to the governor and the families. If you look at the family, they've been interbreeding for years. No wonder they're so stupid. Well, we're going to get in trouble today. Yeah. We do understand that. We don't really let's put it this way, that right now, astrologically, astronomically, you are on the dawn of the age of Aquarius, which is a time of revelation, a time of secrets revealed. And so you have not even really, you have only really just begun to see what some of those secrets are. The whole thing about the aliens, and we said it a little while ago to someone else, but we're going to say it again to you because it gives us the opportunity to put it out there one more time. There's going to be a number of species that are going to be disclosed, and that you're going to even be able to see on your TV sets. So there's going to be a whole wave of the dynamics of attacks upon religion. But the thing is that that's going to create a situation where people are going to move into spirit. The whole dynamic of religion is that you need an intermediary in order to be able to speak with a God that is outside of you. But the dynamic of spirituality is that spark of the divine that exists within. That dynamic that might just be called life. If your heart is beating, we would suggest you have a connection. And so, and you're an earthly human. Because the key here is not to give your power over to those that you deem to be technologically advanced, because even though they are technologically advanced, you are moving into a place where you are going to spiritually be far beyond where they are, because you are a creator race. And as you begin to make more of a connection with your manifestation abilities, you're going to be able to change anything you wish to. Within reason. Within reason. There has to be logic and reason attached to the emotion. We have to teach you all to think and feel simultaneously. Yeah, all right. All right, all right. So we've got another call from Connecticut. So we're gonna we're gonna let you go so you can listen. And hey, have your cup of coffee. Um, all right. We hope everything is wonderful for you. Well, it's almost noon here, so you know we this one's already had 3 cups this morning. Right, there you go. It's still morning. You're allowed. You're allowed. All right. Thank you, Nathaniel. All right, let's move on. Is this Pat? Do you think?
Yes, Nathaniel, thank you. Always good hearing from you. And yes, I believe we're going to Pat in Connecticut.
Good morning, dear one. Well, we're willing to talk about the fatal cooties. We're using code words. We're using code words. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. 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 Go ahead. Go ahead. Sure, sure. Sure, 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 sure. Or it could actually be not a good thing to do. And if we are not be a good thing to do. We wish to tell you, let's put this in a logical and reasonable sort of way, shall we? This has the whole dynamic of the fatal cooties has been a psyop right from the get-go in order to bring down the economy of the United States, and it has succeeded in doing that dynamic, in accomplishing that dynamic. It has basically, in many ways, is in the process of completely wiping out what we would call the merchant class of Americans that have been entrepreneurial in their basis, because they have not, as we said yesterday, that earthly humanity is a clever and resourceful species, and so as the system itself wasn't really providing for a lot of people, it really left nothing except the dynamics of independent business and small business and serving more local serving of community through the dynamics of small business. And so therefore, excuse us, that whole strata of people were able to not only survive but to begin to thrive, because more and more people would rather deal with local and all of that stuff. And so they were also, unfortunately, they are also the most susceptible to these types of situations. In other words, they had very little of a safety net, very little of those things that so many other of you have, either through the dynamics of Social Security or things like that, other things. So they tended to be more independent people, and they tended to be more working class people. And so, and you can include all of the tradesmen and all of the people that repair things, and all of the people that drive trucks, and all of the people that dig ditches, and that whole dynamic. So you have energetically, that those are the ones that were affected by the dynamics of the lockdowns as much or more than anything. So if you take that in mind, and you take all of the gaslighting that was done around masks, around hydroxychloroquine, so many people right now, all of these politicians, they're so bloody out, and the media, they're so bloody outraged about the dynamics of one person died at the Capitol, and maybe 4 other people died of heart attacks. And isn't it a shame that the police officer, a police officer died? And but how many people were killed through the dynamic that media and others were gaslighting hydroxychloroquine, a remedy that has been proven to work, and now all of these months later has papers behind it proving that the dynamic works. And so all of a sudden here they're coming up with a vaccine that is not a vaccine. It is an mRNA dynamic, which basically means it goes in and it modifies your RNA. And from some of the reports that we have heard, and this could get us knocked off just like this, from some of the reports that we have heard recently, Adrian's getting ready to restart just in case. From the reports that we have heard, that do not take the mRNA shot unless they are willing to sign a paper that says they are willing to take responsibility for any side effects that may come from this experimental drug. This is the largest experimental drug dynamic in human history. It's experimental. It's experimental. It's experimental. Can we be clear enough on that? Sure, but listen to us. Hold on. We would suggest to you that that is a dynamic of energy that has occurred because they altered the system so much. In other words, when they first had that first panic reaction to quarantining people, to going, really, it has never been as fatal, it has never been as bad as they have chalked it up to be. There, you have situations where you have the number of people that are susceptible anyway because of a compromised immune system, any number of pre-existing conditions that they might have. The older you get, the worse you get, as this was father used to like to say. but that you become more susceptible to those sorts of things. But even those over 70 years old right now that are catching the virus are in a position where the 94.6% of them get better. So this one, he unfortunately has to go to the VA tomorrow for some dental work, and he's afraid that they're going to try to force him to take the vaccine. And he is, and of course, his opinion is going to bleed into ours because we have suggested that he resists that dynamic. So, if you really want to know, in fact, there are a number of people that took the vaccine early. It's a very interesting dynamic because you notice there's a bunch of elites that are jumping to the head of the line. Have you noticed that dynamic? Wouldn't it be interesting in a month or so they start to, what shall we say, have difficulties from the shot? And so we would suggest to you that it's already, yeah, we would also suggest to you that if you begin to look at the statistics that are starting to come out now around the first shot, because there's two shots that are mRNA shots. And those are the ones that we would steer away from. There's a third shot that's coming out that's going to be actually an antibody shot. That will be much more effective, but won't have that advanced technology. And it's that advanced technology that's going to come up and bite humanity in just a relatively short period of time. So, do your diligence and you will find out that um, we believe that the vaccine is 75 times more lethal than flu shots at this point. Um, we could, yes. What we would do is, do we have your email, Pat? All right. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. We believe that you do. We will send you links and we will send you information that you can look up because it's quite an intricate subject, and we, even though we are divine, do not have a medical degree, so we would not wish to get called on the carpet for prescribing. But we would say to you, there's an old poem, and it's called "Vitamin D and Vitamin C Helps Keep a Body COVID Free." So that and a good healthy diet, and if you actually do happen to get sick, then go to a doctor that will prescribe you therapeutics. Hmm. Uh-huh. Right. Uh-huh. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh, that you mean they both have gotten it? Yeah, yeah, they both got it, and they're both. You're saying to us that both of them got it, and they survived it quite well through their own treatment. Yeah, yeah. Well, here's how we would read that. Here's how we would read that, Pat. We would look at that dynamic and we would say, that's really good. But if the homeopathy does not, and this type of homeopathy that they're doing is not, did not protect them in that sort of way, did not give them any sort of protection at all. In fact, their reaction seems to have been one of someone with a compromised immune system. And, just go ahead. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We then yeah, we understand. We wouldn't we would rather you steer more toward allopathic home. We would rather you steer more toward allopathic, not vaccines, not medicine in that way, but therapeutics, prophylactics. You're pretty healthy, girl. You know, but yeah, we understand. There's so much fear around this. There's so much fear around this, and it's. Oh, we're sorry, but what we're saying is that there's so much fear around this dynamic that you have to look at it and you have to say, how much of this is anybody really thinking clearly about? How much is anybody thinking objectively about? You start getting into the dynamics of family and all of that stuff, and you're saying, well, I have to protect family. I have to protect these children. I have to protect my grandparents, my parents. I'm going to be responsible for killing them just by breathing, and and then they can keep. Yeah, right. Well, and the only way you can do that, the only way you can counter that dynamic, is with the facts. So, yes, Pat, we are happy to send you information on this. Adrienne, please write that down so that you can remind us later. All right. You have anything else you wish to ask us? Oh, you're quite welcome. Always a pleasure to speak with you. No, we're good right now. We're good right now. uh, well, we don't do predictions per se. You know, what we do is we look at the possibilities of the reality that is going to manifest in a short time based upon the emotional state of yourselves and humanity at any given time. When we read you, for example, when we do a prediction dynamic, what we're doing is we're just taking a brief look at where you are emotionally, and as we make that connection, if your higher self has anything that they want to share with you, they will tell us and we will pass that dynamic on. We won't always tell you that it was your higher self because they don't necessarily wish you to know everything. So they like you to be surprised as well. You know. So again, yeah. So go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. 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 How's that for definitive? And you don't have long to wait. The rumor is that Mr. Trump is going to do an address to the nation tonight over the emergency broadcast system. therefore going around all of those people that would try to shut him down. So if you know about that dynamic, then you can make a good assumption about what he's going to say. And then the big mystery is going to be how everybody reacts to it. And so that should be the real fun, don't you think? But, yeah, we've been saying that for months. Ultimately, you each have yeah, but you have to realize that this is what you came here to do, and for some people it's an incremental journey. If you look at the dynamic of spiritual growth or growth of consciousness, you look at the dynamic and you really only measure things by how you yourself have grown over a lifetime. Now, not to say that you're not a spring chicken anymore, as so many of us that are involved in this work are not. And the reason for that is that you need to have gained those experiences that you have gained in your life in order to be able to share that dynamic of wisdom with others who are going to really let's put it this way. If we're talking about a dynamic of spiritual growth, you are starting at an 8 when others are starting at -10. Okay, go ahead. Um, yeah, but the ones that are freaky are going to freak out. The ones that are angry are going to be enraged. The ones that are happy are going to look at it as a new opportunity. What you need to do is to just keep people positive. Say, hey, it's just the opportunity for us all to come together, and we can help each other. Yes, we can.
Yes.
We'll moan too if you wish. Mm. All right, dear one. Thank you very much. All right. All right. So let's
Thank you, Pat.
thank you, Pat.
We'll be in touch.
Okay, so here we are. How much time we got left? Only 12 minutes. How funny how that time flies when you're having fun. Look, dear ones, we've been talking about this all show. Hopefully that we're not going to be censored too badly from it. We have a nice system going right now where we actually do record this whole thing on a separate dynamic, so that one way or another there is a good copy of it available if you wish to participate. And the presentation, like yesterday, was kind of half-assed in its presentation. It looked very grainy to us and all of that stuff. But so if you want a clear version of things we have, just send us an email and we will respond to it and tell you where you can get a good copy from. Let us see. Hold on to your hats. Don't bend over too much. You might be surprised. Many of you, as we just said to Pat, are anticipating a different reality than what is being presented, and you are the ones that are going to be least impacted by the dynamics. Remember, dear ones, responsibility means being responsive to what is, and reactions are a dynamic of acting in ways that are based upon the past and not based upon the present reality. And so with that bit of cryptic presentation, we are SOTU. We love you all so very, very much. We will see you next Saturday at 1 p.m., hopefully on YouTube. But if you can't find us there, look on Rumble if we happen to have another problem. We have a Patreon group coming up on the 19th of January, and that should be a humdinger. All right, and feel free to join. You can join for just one session, or you can just join on a monthly basis. We're not really looking for a ton of support monetarily, but we always do love to have human interaction. So we love you all so very, very much. We are SOTU. Until next time we close, sending you peace, sending you happiness, sending you joy.
And SOTU's leaving, and Josh is coming back into his body, and we're staying for just a moment here. Hi, how you doing?
Okay.
Okay.
How you doing?
I'm fine, but I wasn't just channeling SOTU for over an hour. So please check us out wherever you can find us. Patreon is a great way if you wish to join us. SOTU said for just a month, we're going to be having our next one on the 19th. You can always join and then decide it's not for you, or keep on with it.
Keep on keeping on.
Right now, we are on Facebook, we are on Rumble, and we are on Parlor, and certainly go to our website.
But I heard Parlor's going to be taken down today.
Parlor's probably coming down
At
tonight, but we are trying to make ourselves available one way or the other. The website is probably the best if you can't find us anywhere else, and you can always shoot us an email through their contact page on the website.
ConversationswithSOTU.org.
So if things are getting too wonky and you just wish to reach out, that's the way to do it. So hopefully, yes, we will be next week on Saturday on YouTube Live, and hopefully Healing the Rift next week on the radio and also on YouTube Live. So
oh no, he's stopping 8 minutes early.
We've gone as far as we can go for right now. Listen, we love you.
I'm a zone puppy.
I'm Adrian.
I'm Josh.
They were SOTU. Hopefully see you next week.
Bye, guys.